If you clicked, you're probably already bought into the idea that group connection is essential, that connection and our relationships are the vehicle that change is actually created. And so instead of giving you common ideas, which you might already know, today I've brought in 5 or 4 of my favorite facilitator friends who have an expertise in this area. And we're going to share 5 uncommon strategies to make group connection really easy. And so Jan's going to kick us off with this amazing sleeping bag idea, not real sleeping bags, miniature ones. I'm going to share this concept of intertwining our futures. Manal's got a brilliant idea that should almost always be done before we get into work. Romy is going to blow your mind by leading an experience live in a video. And Adam is going to wrap us up with what I believe to be one of the most compelling, beautiful closing exercises shared on this channel. Here we go. Jan, what do you got?
I'll be sharing how cell phone sleeping bags will help warm up your group.
And Manal, what's the essence of what you do before you get down to work with anybody?
Hi everyone, I'm Manal, and one strategy I use is telling the story behind the work, not your role. So an example of this is, what's a moment that shaped how you lead, or who taught you what care looks like? It's disarming and it humanizes authority and makes room for authenticity.
Hi everybody, I'm Romy, and I will be sharing with you the best alternative I've found to just explaining content.
All right, and what's up, everyone? My name is Adam Rosendahl, calling in from Oakland, California. I'm going to be sharing about closings and specifically something called the group tapestry, where we take individual contributions and we bring them together into something that can create a collective sense of we, or a unified, cohesive feeling at the end of a session.
And every single one of the human beings that you just saw is going to be co-leading a session at the Connector Summit. And so you'll be able to see some of these ideas and more take shape and come alive in December. Jan, tell me about these sleeping bags. This is amazing.
First of all, there's one sentence I hope that we eradicate from all workshops, trainings, and meetings and gatherings, which starts with, let's wait until everybody's here, because this just makes the people who showed up on time feel really bad. We're not valuing their time. So let's give them something to do right in those first few minutes when they come into the room. And this here might look like nothing. It's just an envelope. But this could turn into a really cool tool to help engage people in the first few minutes by inviting them to customize it. I love to bring stickers. This is like the professional version. I actually invested into some envelopes that even have like the string at the end. So you have this intentional moment where you put your phone, that is this thing that buzzes in your pocket, steals your attention, your presence, especially when you want to connect with people. When you just put that into your sleeping bag that you've customized, and that everybody will have their own individual version, it just starts the session with that intention. Yes, I'm going to be present here for the connections that are about to happen.
Beautiful. And once Jan's done that and everybody's present, I think that we're now able to, what I call strategy number 2, intertwine our futures. And so here's the idea. If you knew the answer to everybody in your group, if you knew the answer, what's something you really care about? Or what's something you'd like to do more of in the next year? All of the way that you would lead that meeting would be tailored and intertwined with their futures and what they're caring about and concerned about. And so it's almost like, as the host of a gathering, you collect 50 antenna for what's important to people so that you can edit the session to actually follow that path. And I think that intertwining futures is a beautiful way to connect, but I also think Manal has a really lovely way to invite us into some origin stories. So what do you do before you get people to actually get down to it, Manal?
Well, one of the principles that I work by is connection before content, or connection as content. And it's really taking a few moments to connect as people before we get into the work. And so a lot of the times we come into these conversations in different roles, but this kind of portion helps us humanize each other and connect on a very human level, so that those conversations about whatever we're going to be talking about is a lot more centered around our humanity and not necessarily on outcomes. So that's the portion I'll be talking about.
Awesome. Okay, I should have asked you all this before. Does everyone here have pen and paper accessible to them?
Yes.
Amazing. So instead of telling you my principle, I'm going to just ask us to dive in. So can I ask you all, wonderful facilitators here, to think back to your earliest positive learning experience? This could be when you were in kindergarten, if you remember high school, grad school, even if you can't remember anything past last week, everything works. What do you connect most with? What stuck? Why was that a positive learning experience? What do you or did you connect with? Take a moment just to think, and I want you to write it out in big, it could be multiple words. What comes up for you? Could be one word, 2, 3. Okay. I'm asking you to hold them up. Ooh, mink, care. What do we got? Play. What's in yours, Adam? Can you tell me?
It's not very big. Experiential, fun, collective, creative, story-based.
Beautiful. How about you, Manal? What came up for you? Love. Okay. Oh, I want to just dive in. I'm really curious. What was mink about, Chad? Can I ask you briefly?
What came up, it was a biology class where we dissected a mink. And I just remember like nothing else exists. So maybe the real word is probably presence, because it was like nothing else existed in that moment. I wasn't thinking about the next class or the class that happened before. I was just thinking about the mink's intestines.
Manal, can I ask you briefly, what about love?
Well, in this learning experience, it was very heavy. And so the focus was on, do you focus on the fear or the love? And I chose the love aspect of it.
Beautiful. So thank you, because you all just perfectly demonstrated that nobody remembers the actual content of what happened that moment, what you were learning. In fact, all the neuroscience shows our brains remember the emotions, the feelings, the sentiment, the people, or the minks, the animals. And this is exactly what we're going to dive into. How can you actually transform content into an experience? And how do you help people actually not just listen to information, but actually meta approach to learning it live? Okay, Adam, I pass it to you.
And you just did that in a video. Bam.
I love it. All right. So I'm going to be talking about closings. How do you end well? And how do you end in a unique way that leaves people feeling complete or satisfied with the session? Because sometimes the ending is all that people remember. Sometimes they remember the beginning and the end. And something that I found that's really powerful is turning a big group of people from individual strangers or collaborators or colleagues and turning them into a collective. And how do you create this sense of cohesion or we or a group identity? And some way that I have done that is often people will have people write something in the chat as like a closing thought or phrase or kind of takeaway. But what if you were able to kind of take everyone's contributions and then turn them into a collective poem that you read out loud to the group afterward? You might have people close their eyes and read everyone's contributions as one written piece. And what happens is people can start to feel like they are part of something bigger than themselves. And when they hear their voice or their phrase spoken out loud in front of others, it has this really beautiful effect of feeling like they're part of the end product. And so I'm always wanting people to feel seen and part of something greater at the very end, and also to end in a way that feels more like opening the door to something that feels special and not just what people would predict.
I didn't know that you were going to share that in that exact way, Adam, and I'm loving that because this is a beautiful capstone to this video, because the last thing we did at the very last session in the very last 5 minutes of the Connector Summit last year was this group anthem exercise where everybody closed with a statement that had to begin with either I am, I believe, or I will. And we put ChatGPT voice on and listened to everybody's response. And the prompt and invitation was listen to everybody's I statements and fire back 3 we are, we believe, and we will statements. Which, you know, who knows how accurately it did that, but the idea, right, of group task is pulling everybody together. These were such good ideas. Thank you very much. If you want more Adam and more Romy and more Manal and more Jan, check out some links to their stuff below, and also think about coming to Connector Summit.
We'll see you there.
Yeah, we'll see you there.
Bye everyone.